I'm going to be demonstrating the difference between using a wipe to do a soakless pedicure and a towel. So for a wipe, basically what you're going to be doing is wiping down the foot. This is something that's great to use on clients who are maybe bedridden. You cannot soak them or even use warm towels. So it's a quick, easy way of cleansing the skin and getting it ready to do your service. Now, regardless of whether you're soaking, not soaking, dry versus wipe versus towel, it's imperative that you are using product to work and soften the cuticle area, the nail groove, etc. So we are using the FootLogic's cuticle softener, and we need to apply this around under the nails so that we can soften that sidewall. We can soften around the lateral nail fold, under the free edge, and the cuticle area as well. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very difficult on the client because the skin is not going to be malleable. It's not going to be easy to move or easy to work with. So this is where it's important to use our softeners. And then, of course, the callus softener on the bottom of the foot, letting this penetrate in. It does need its 2 to 3 minutes to do its job. Now, I also find that if I am not soaking in a pedicure, I'm just using a wipe, I need a couple applications of the product so that I'm able to get the excavator in, I'm able to cut the nails. And just to give you, a little bit of an example, when we go in with our excavator to clean out that groove area and that free edge, sure, we're getting a little bit of the debris. However, you have to look at it's tight. It doesn't slide easily, and we want to make sure it slides easily. It's getting better as that skin gets softened. So that just gives you a little bit of an idea of the difference in why, whether you're soaking or not soaking, it's important to cleanse the skin, but also use the right softeners. Next, I'm going to show, wrapping a nice warm towel around the foot and cleansing and preparing the foot this way when you're not doing that soaking pedicure. So you just want to, nicely tuck that foot in, bundle it up. Just make sure the towel is not too hot if you're keeping it in a towel cabine or a towel warmer. So you just want to make sure that it's not too hot. And we are just going to let that sit on for a couple of minutes. Now that we've had the warm towel on the foot for a couple of minutes, we are going to unbundle the foot. And again, we can get into cleansing, into the softener. I'll be honest with you guys, I am doing this off the cuff, so it's not perfect. But again, even with a warm towel, you can see where that skin is nice and cleansed. It's warm. The client really enjoyed it, but I still need to apply my cuticle and callus softeners and let them penetrate into the skin. And again, that makes the service much more the skin malleable, and it's a lot easier, especially when we look at our client that we're working on today. She's got very, very involuted or curvated nails, and that's going to be a little bit more difficult to work on. So that's where we want to make sure that we've softened, we've cleansed, but we've also softened the skin, the nail groove area, the lateral nail folds, under the free edge, so it makes our job not just easier for us, but also more comfortable with our client. This is something that's really important, is client comfort. So now that we've got that softener on, we've cleansed, we've had the softener on, we need to let it soak in, but now we come in with our excavator, and you can see where, wow, we can clean that nail out, we can get in. So it does make a difference depending on the client that you're working on. So just make sure you've got the right tools, products, and everything to do the service that makes your client comfortable, and you're able to provide that nice, safe pedicure service. Now, of course, as this product penetrates in even a little more, we'll be able to take out extra debris or more debris. So what I also want to do is show you cutting of the nail. Again, you want to have a little bit of hydration and a little bit of softening to that nail to make it easier to cut, because you don't want that movement when you're cutting to pull on that nail bed in itself. So that's where I do like to either soak, or I'm either soaking depending on the client, or if I'm using a wipe, I'm using extra softeners, and if I'm using the warm towel, I'm also using that softener, because we need to be able to go and gently trim that nail, but also not cause your client discomfort. So you can see where her toenails are a little bit thick. We can't just go in there and try and cut them dry. We want to make sure the skin is malleable and we're able to do a nice service. We've trimmed the toenails, and now we can go in again with our excavator and we can clean out the debris. And you can see, even after having that softener on, that little bit of extra time, we're able to get in and very, very easily clean the groove area under the free edge. Now that we have trimmed up the nails, cleaned the groove, we are going to go in. We can work with our electric file now. Basically, your pedicure service is just like normal. The only thing that has changed is the fact that you're not soaking the foot, that you're either cleansing it or you are wrapping warm towels around it, but you're still using the softeners in the product. So from there, everything works the same. So that's where we're going to go in. We can shape our free edge. We can reduce a little bit of the thickness. This great toenail is a little bit thick, so we can etch our plate. But you can see that the rest of the surface is as normal. If there's any callus along the groove area, across the free edge, we can reduce that down, and you can see where it's very gentle and it's very easy, because we've used the products required to prep and prepare that skin. And that's what is the priority, not whether you're soaking or not soaking, is that you've got that nail, you've got the skin, everything is prepared for the service. And that really makes a difference in the comfort to the client, but also the end results of the service. Now we do our cuticle work, and we've got our tapered bit fine diamond, where we're going to go in and we're going to clean the cuticle area, the proximal nail fold area, being very, very careful not to apply too much pressure, just basically rolling, getting that excess debris up off the nail. So here we go. We've got the toenails all nicely cleaned up. The grooves are nicely cleaned up. They're shaped, they're beveled, and the cuticle area is all cleaned up. And now we're ready to go down onto the bottom of the foot. And again, it's really important that you have that skin soft softened on the bottom of the foot to make your job so much easier when you're filing. Because if you're filing and see how that file is catching and it's rasping, well, that's going to be uncomfortable for your client. So that's where, whether you soak or you don't soak, you want to make sure you've got sufficient softener on the skin so that you are not catching with your file, but also client comfort. This is something that's really important as well. So we've reapplied the callus softener. We let it soak in for another couple of moments, and look at the difference when we work with that file. It's not, you know, singing. It's smooth. It's not catching, and the client finds this much more comfortable. So these are things that are really important to take into consideration when you're not soaking your client. You want to make sure that that skin is very nice, very malleable, and easy to work with, because we don't want to create any problems. Now, if you're using an electric file, you're doing exactly the same thing on the bottom of the foot with your electric file. And you can just use your electric file the same way, and it just works very, very well to reduce that dry skin. Now, I don't have my vacuum suction on, so of course it's not sucking in the debris. The debris is falling to the ground. So I'm not going to continue on, but I just wanted to give you an idea of the difference between the hand file, the electric file, and again, making sure your skin is properly prepared. So we've got the bottom of the foot done. We're ready to move on to our next steps. Now, one of the things that you can incorporate if you're doing a little bit more of a luxury service at this point, this is where you can take your exfoliating seaweed scrub and you can do a nice little scrub on your client, up the leg. This is kind of like a little tiny bit of the nice feel-good luxury part, but it's also very, very good and nourishing to the skin as well. I choose to do it towards the end of my service when I'm doing a soakless pedicure, because it can almost be like a mask. It just helps to cleanse, and I can then take my warm towel, and with my warm towel I can wrap it around and I can leave that sitting on the client, and it's almost like a little bit of a mask for my client before I wipe it off. So we just bundle that foot up and we leave that on and let it soak in. And of course, last but definitely not least is applying product and going into the massage. So again, depending on your client consultation, etc., whether you're going to massage or whether you're just going to do an application of product. Here we're using the DD Mousse, and we're just going to do a nice application of product and just want to make sure that we're hydrating and adding moisture to the skin. And there we are, our little quickie service. We are finished, and we are ready to either apply polish or go on to the next foot.